This is by far one of the most requested lore videos I've had, and it's evident why. The dwarves in the Elder Scrolls world are one of the most secretive and mysterious races in all of Mundus. Their shenanigans can be traced back to as early as the Menethic era, and even if they have been gone since the First Age, their influence will still affect the inhabitants of Tamriel today. Many questions arrive when people talk about the Dwemer. Who are they? How are they so advanced? What are their secrets? And most importantly, what happened to them? One step at a time though. First of all, let's talk about who are they? Or more precise, who are they not? Humans call them dwarves, but they're not actually that. The Dwemer are actually Mare. Yes, guys, the Dwemer are elves. Just like the elvish heritage is diagnosed and separated into different categories based on their lifestyle and looks, so are the Dwemer. Just like you have high elves, wood elves, dark elves, and snow elves, in this case, you have the deep elves. The name obviously coming from the fact that the deep elves used to live in cities underground and were master crafters of stone and metal. It is not known exactly where the name Dwemer comes from, but it's mostly just how humans call them. You see, scholars suggest that the name comes from the Deep Elves' interaction with the Giants, that the Giants probably gave them the name Dwarf as to suggest their small nature in comparison to them. They are, however, different looking than other Mare races. Historians say they used to possess a grey skin tone unique to them, and beards were very popular among their culture. They possessed a very strong affinity to magic, probably as being of elvish heritage obviously, even though they completely shunned magic altogether in favor of technology. The Dwemer were a race that above all favored the smart, the intelligent. They praised logic among their peers, and not only did they believe in their own set of gods, but they also thought they were above them. They were an extremely reclusive race, never really interacting with the other races unless necessary, and when necessary, they were shown to be ruthless, cruel, and opportunistic. Because of this, not many records of their history exist nowadays, and the only ones that do are of their interactions with other races. Their technology was incredibly impressive. We are talking robots, man, and not just any kind of robot, but self-sustained robots that could live for thousands of years without the need for repairs or maintenance. These guys mastered steam power and the moving assembly line when every other race were still stuck on bows. Their robots were called animunculi, and they were used as the main bulk of the Dwemer armies. They worked via a combination of steam power and magic, using magically enhanced dynamo cores. They also used soul gems to supply them with energy. But nowadays they are the last living remnants of this dead civilization, and can still be found patrolling and defending the empty Dwemer ruins. It is incredibly interesting, however, to see that the Centurion dynamo cores actually spin indefinitely, as you can see, suggesting that the Dwemer found a way of creating a perpetual energy source, which would give reason to how these machines can all sustain themselves for so many years. But how? I mean, how can one race find so many technological advances while others struggle so much? I mean, even to this day, we still have issues reading the Elder Scrolls, yet the dwarves find a way to read them easily and without even going blind. Ages ago, right? By the First Age. Well, a reason for that might actually be the Etherium ore. Etherium is a rare blue luminescent crystal that was originally discovered by the dwarves when they were mining in Blackreach. In fact, this is pretty much the sole reason you have so many cities and outposts from the Deep Elves here in Skyrim. I mean, the crystals are one of those, I don't know how the fuck this thing works, but it's good, things that Skyrim has a lot of. I guess kind of like the Skyforge from Whiterun. It's weird like that. The crystals possesses secret magical properties. It is so strong, however, that it is almost impossible to craft with it. The dwarves, however, being the best at figuring out how to do things before everyone else, built the Etherium Forge, an ancient magma-fueled forge located deep below Budalf, one of their ancient strongholds. Initial tests and crafts with this ore commanded incredible results and suddenly became a massive interest from the Deep Elves. So much, in fact, that the cities surrounding Black March formed a peace pact just to protect this mineral and create powerful artifacts. The city of Archithetums led the project and served as the primary command and research center, while the city of Rabeltharth, which happened to be located directly above Blackreach, dealt with the mining operations. Misulft was used as a storage site. Scholars found that also Betharsel formed part of the operation, but its role in the process is still unknown. Later on, the Etherium Forge would be built under Bethalth. The artifacts and enchantments that came out of this process were so brilliant and so powerful that the Deep Elves started to transcend humanity. The power was so grand, however, that the truce between the cities broke and warring between cities began. Years of internal disputes and infighting decimated the Dwemer states and was the primary reason for their sudden collapse and loss of power that resulted in the Nordic High King Gallier conquering most of the cities in Skyrim. This is actually not the reason why they all disappeared, however. Oh no, it gets better. But before I get into that, however, there are 3 magical artifacts that came out of this Etherium Forge and the Dragonborn can actually use. Check this out. The Ethereal Crown, which allows you to have 2 standing stone powers at the same time. It's pretty darn epic. The Ethereal Shield, which causes a Become Ethereal effect on the opponent when you shield bash them. It lasts 15 seconds. It can save your life though, it doesn't work in Dragon sadly. And lastly, the Ethereal Staff, which summons Dwarven Spheres and Spider Guardians upon use. Kind of like the Sanguine Rose, I guess, is really helpful. You can get these items from a quest in Dawnguard, they're really cool. These guys really don't fuck around with their enchantments. So now I want to get their history in perspective a little bit here, so you guys can get an idea of everything that happened to these guys and in the end, what caused their disappearance. Let's go all the way back to the Menethic era. This is the era when Isgramor came with the companions and took Skyrim back from the Snow Elves. You guys already know that story, but let's go back to that time. Now that we're actually talking about that story, it is very interesting because there's no way that the Nords could have possibly finished off every single Snow Elf on Skyrim. I mean, how is that possible, right? How can you really eradicate an entire species? Well, it really wasn't so. The Nords did destroy most of the Snow Elf population, but the ones that were left over went and sought help from the Dwarves. I guess they figured since both of them are elf races that they would help them out, but well, it really wasn't like that. The Dwarves tricked the Snow Elves. They promised to help them and gave them all shelter in their cities, but instead of helping them, the Dwarves gave them a special mushroom native to Blackreach and made them all go blind. Then enslaved them into hard labor in the mines. You remember when I said the Dwemer were cruel, ruthless, and opportunistic? Well, there you go. Dwarves 101, enslave their cousins. Eventually, the Snow Elves devolved into these weird, blind, nasty creatures that nowadays we call the Polymer. Yep, that's why you find a lot of Polymers in Dwarven ruins. Makes sense now, huh? Well, it will make a lot more sense once you find out that the Polymer actually means the betrayed in Elvish. Wabam! So now, let's fast forward to the first era. Anyways, at this point, most of the Dwemer population is in Morrowind, with just the occasional outposts and cities outside by Skyrim. The Nords were becoming an incredible threat as they started pushing ground on Morrowind. This resulted in the Dwemer forming allies with the Chimmer, which, by the way, at this point, they are simply just another race of elves. Just remember them though, because they're kind of important. But anyways, they joined up and defeat the Nords in Morrowind, which gave them a better foothold on Skyrim as well. And this is why they discovered their juicy Etherium ore, which by the way is named after Aetherius, which is the heavens in Elder Scrolls Online where the Aedra live. So yeah, all of that happened. Infighting causes them to majorly collapse, and the Skyrim High King pretty much owns them all in Skyrim after that. That was pretty bad. What's worse though is that at some point after that, the Polymer all massively revolt, possibly taking advantage of the Dwemer's weakness at the time, which results in massive Dwemer deaths all over the place. At this point in time, the Dwemer are really freaked out. I mean, things are not working well for them overall. Although they still have their incredible technology and intelligence, this results in them trying out new and more dangerous forms of magic. You see, all they want is to be immortal, and to understand magic and technology, surpass it, and surpass the gods. That's their main goal, and to be able to do that, they need to become immortal. And that's when they found the Heart of Lorkhan. If you guys remember, I talked about this Aedra in the Dwarven Secrets video. Click here to see that. But he's the guy that orchestrated the whole creation of Mundus. When the other Aedras found their divine power was being absorbed, they became majorly pissed with Lorkhan, and they ended up killing him and ripping his heart out, and throwing it into Tamriel, hidden from the world. Well, the dwarves found it. They were mining the Red Mountain and they came across it. They noticed the incredible power that came out of it, and like always, they tried to harness it. The Shimmer, however, didn't like this one bit. Historians debate whether they thought it was a sacrilege of the gods, or simply because they just didn't want that much power given to the Dwemer. Regardless of the reason, the Shimmer declared open war on the Dwemer, which really just made the Dwemer more interested in this source of power, to be able to crush whoever opposed them. Now, this is really cool. The Dwemer created this massive robot, right? I mean, you guys think that the Centurion is big. You guys. Well, there's no real description of its actual size, but it is said to have been colossal. So big, in fact, that a mere copy of it was the reason Tyver Septim could conquer the entire Tamriel. I just want you guys to get a grasp of the power of this thing, alright? The one that Tyver used to conquer Tamriel was just a mere copy, and was being powered by a lame dynamo core or something. This one was being fueled by the heart of a god. It was so powerful that the Dwemer venerated it as a god, alright? Its name was Numidium, and it was built with the prospect of having it be able to freely move through planes of existence. Whether it managed to do that or not is still unknown, but it was also known as the Brass God or the Brass Tower. In fact, this Colossus actually appears in the Dragonborn Prophecy. Check this out. When misrule takes its place at the 8 corners of the world, when the Brass Tower walks and time is reshaped. Blah blah blah, but you see it's there. It's so cool. This is all on the Dragonborn book, by the way. You can also see the brass giant on the Akaviri Prophecy wall, that's actually really cool. Anyways, it seems like the Dwemer theorized that with the help of the Heart of Lorkhan, and possibly also with the help of the Brass God, they could become immortal and transcend away from the mortal world. They needed special artifacts to interact with the Heart of Lorkhan, however, so they created 3 special tools: Sunder, Keening, and Wraithguard. Sunder and Wraithguard appeared on Morrowind, but Keening is actually obtainable on Skyrim. Interestingly enough, you shouldn't be allowed to wield Keening without Wraithguard, as its power is supposed to be so powerful that it would just consume you. But hell, I guess the Dragonborn is just that cool. The quest giver Arniel will actually mention that he's surprised that you're not dead after using it. Anyways guys, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. The king of the Dwemer at the time, Domek, and Kargranak, which at the time was like the top architect and magecrafter of the dwarves. He was the one in charge of making every dwarf a god, pretty much. So they were there at the Heart of Lorkhan, preparing to do the ritual that would hopefully make them all immortal, when suddenly an army of Shimmer appeared with their king and generals. The Shimmer fought the Dwemer and defeated them, but as the Dwemer lay defeated, Kargranak of the dwarves quickly used his 3 tools on the Heart of Lorkhan, and then every single dwarf disappeared. Kaput? Just like that. The guy touches the heart with his tools and boom! No more. There's actually only one dwarf that survived, as apparently he was in Oblivion at the time, and apparently whatever magic happened didn't take him, as his body was not in the mortal plane as it happened. But regardless, he knows nothing since he wasn't there when it all happened. But that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, there really isn't any lore on what happened after that. It is suggested that the spell failed and it just simply banished every single Dwemer into nothingness. Although it could also simply mean that the spell worked and now the Dwemer are outside of the mortal plane, enjoying the immortality that comes with it. But what truly is, though, is that nobody knows. Before I go, however, there is something really cool that I want to talk about. You see, the King of the Shimmer, which defeated the Dwemer by the Heart of Lorkhan, he tried to do a ritual after the fight, which would call upon the Daedric Prince Asura. You see, he wanted to ask him what to do with the tools, as they were mighty powerful and dangerous. However, as he was doing so, his generals betrayed him and killed him, possibly to use the tools of their own benefits and become immortal themselves. Thing is, Asura got summoned, saw what happened, and cursed not just the generals that wanted to become immortal, but all of the Shimmer as well for their betrayal. The curse made the Shimmer get dark skin and red eyes, and so the Dark Elves were formed. Ooh, and this is where Morrowind picks up. Be sure to visit me on my Let's Play channel RhexX Plays at youtube.com/RhexX Plays. Watch me play tons of games, and if you want to play Minecraft with me online, come join this server and help us build the best city ever. Just click on the video and see all the information there. Hope to see you there.